everybody, it's Peeps Debbie here. Welcome back to another brand new video. We're doing presidential elections in the United States history. Right now we're going to do the 1789 election through the 1844 election. This is part 1. You guys notice I got a new desk, so that's the new news. And the Story of His Life episode 2 will be coming out on Tuesday. Alright, so let's start this video. So our first election we're going to be looking at is the 1789 election. George Washington went against John Adams. Neither of them had a vice president, but whoever got second place became vice president. So George Washington received 69 electoral votes, and John Adams received 34 electoral votes. Washington was no party, and Adams was the Federalist. So Washington became the first president in the American history, and John Adams became the first vice president in American history. So now in the 1792 election, George Washington received around 80 electoral votes, and John Adams received 77 electoral votes, remaining the first president and the first vice president. John Adams became the second president in American history with his vice president Charles C. Pinckney, but he didn't become the vice president. Thomas Jefferson became the second vice president because he got the second most votes. So he became the second president, and Thomas Jefferson became the second vice president. Thomas Jefferson got his revenge, and he became the third president in American history, and Aaron Burr became the third vice president in American history. John Adams this time received 65 electoral votes, and Thomas Jefferson received 73 electoral votes. In the other run, 68 was to Thomas Jefferson, and 71 to Adams, and this time it flipped. So Thomas Jefferson won re-election with his vice president George Clinton becoming the fourth president in American history. This time he received 162 electoral votes, and Charles C. Pinckney, who was Adams' vice president, received 14 electoral votes. His vice president was Rufus King. James Madison, which was Thomas Jefferson's Secretary of State, became the fourth president in American history, and George Clinton remained the fourth vice president. James Madison received 122 electoral votes, and Charles C. Pinckney ran again. He received 47 this time. James Madison won re-election, and Elbridge Gerry became the fifth vice president in American history. James Madison this time received 128 electoral votes, and DeWitt Clinton received 89 electoral votes. James Monroe became the fifth president in American history, and Daniel D. Tompkins became the sixth vice president in American history. James Monroe received 183 electoral votes, and Rufus King received 34 electoral votes. And John Eager Howard was Rufus King's vice president. James Monroe ran unopposed, receiving 231 electoral votes. His vice president, Daniel D. Tompkins, was still remained the sixth vice president, although one faithless elector voted for John Quincy Adams, Monroe's Secretary of State. John Quincy Adams became the sixth president in American history, winning a tough four-way election between Andrew Jackson, who received 99 electoral votes, William H. Crawford, who received 41 electoral votes, and Henry Clay, who received 31 electoral votes. He received 84, but he received more. But the House had a pick because no one reached a majority, which was 131 electoral votes, because there were 4 candidates. Andrew Jackson got revenge and became the seventh president in American history. John C. Calhoun was the vice president when the 1824 election, so he was the same. So John C. Calhoun remained the seventh vice president in American history. Andrew Jackson received 178 electoral votes, way more of a majority. John Quincy Adams received 83 electoral votes. And a new political party was called the Democratic Party, which Andrew Jackson was a part of. And John Quincy Adams was part of the National Republican Party. Henry Clay ran a second time, this time receiving 49 electoral votes, and Andrew Jackson won re-election, receiving 219 electoral votes. Martin Van Buren became the 8th vice president in American history. Martin Van Buren ran for president, and he won. He received 170 electoral votes. In second place was William Henry Harrison, who received 73 electoral votes. In third place was Hugh Lawson White with 26 electoral votes. Fourth, Daniel Webster with 14 electoral votes, and another candidate, which I don't remember, who received 11 electoral votes. Richard M. Johnson became the 8th vice president in American history. And all the Whigs, Hugh Lawson White and the other candidate, the vice president was John Tyler, and Daniel Webster, and William Henry Harrison's vice president was another guy named like Richard something. Martin Van Buren was a Democrat, and all those three were Whigs. William Henry Harrison won the 1840 election against Martin Van Buren. He became the 9th president in American history. This time he received 234 electoral votes, and Martin Van Buren received 60. His vice president was John Tyler, and his vice president was nobody. William Henry Harrison died 1 month out of office, only 32 days, serving as the shortest tenure ever in presidential history. John Tyler became the 10th president in American history and served between the next election. Henry Clay won a third time against James K. Polk, but Henry Clay lost, receiving 105 electoral votes, the best yet. James K. Polk received 170 electoral votes. George M. Dallas became the 11th vice president in American history, and Theodore Fitchell Houston was Henry Clay's running mate. Thank you guys for watching this video. Part 2 will be coming out very soon, so see you guys in the next video. Peeps, W out.